Alrighty, one more formula for circles using radians, the sector area formula. In geometry, you would have discussed this as the area of a circle. A sector, by the way, is part of an area, so something like this, that would be a sector, like a pizza slice. You would multiply the entire area of the circle by the fraction of the circle's measure that you're using. How many degrees, you would have done in geometry, of the circle are you using? So 25 degrees out of 360 or 90 degrees out of 360, you'd have a fraction here. Well, since we're using radians, we would use radians divided by 2 pi instead of degrees divided by 360. And since we're doing that, these pi's don't really need to be here. So the area formula for a sector that we're going to use is going to be r squared times the angle divided by 2. Okay? Sometimes you may wish to have that written with the 2 pulled out. If there's a 1 on the top and the 2 on the bottom, sometimes you might want to have it as 1/2 times the radius squared times theta. That's especially helpful if theta is also a fraction. That way you don't have a fraction inside of a fraction. So we might use this as well. Alright, so using the formula in a straightforward way would be something like this. If my radius is 12 and my angle is 12 pi, what would be the area of my sector? Since my angle is not a fraction, I can use this version, it'll be fine. So 12 squared times 12 pi divided by 2. That's straight into the calculator. 12 squared times 12 pi equals, divided by 2, 2,714.336. Again, I forgot units. This would be units squared because it is area, but I forgot to put them in the notes, so we don't have them here. Okay? If they give us degrees instead of radians, we have radius squared times angle and times the converting fraction from degrees to radians, because our formula wants us to be in radians. Okay? Now this is a case where dividing by 2 is going to be difficult because I already have a fraction there. So I'm going to say times 1/2 instead. Okay? That way it's clear to me that these numbers are all on the top and these numbers are on the bottom. So when this goes into my calculator, I'm going to do 15.20 squared times 108, the degree symbol's canceled off, times pi times 1. Okay, I won't really type that. And on the bottom, 1 times 1 times 180 times 2. So on the bottom, I'll have 180 times 2. Okay? If you do not figure out 180 times 2 is 360 first, you will need to use parentheses. So 15.20 squared times 108 times pi equals, divided by 2 times 180. So if I use parentheses, my calculator can do that for me. Otherwise I need to do that myself and do 360 there. So 217.750 units squared. Square units, since it's area. It's the space inside. Okay? And what if it's radians, but the radians is a fraction? Again, I'm going to do that 1/2 like I did on that one. Area of the sector equals radius squared times angle measurement in radians divided by 2, but since I already have a fraction, I'm going to say times by 1/2. So I can clearly tell that my 12 squared, my 3 pi, and my 1 are on the top, and my 1 times 2 is on the bottom. So I'm going to do 12 squared times 3 pi over 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, right? 12 squared times 3 pi divided by 4. 339.292. Units square. Okay, so that's 3 pi over 2 is a larger angle than 108 degrees. Oh, never mind, those were different. These ones were the ones to explain. Radius was the same, but this is a larger angle, so it's a larger sector. Okay. This can be done in reverse. If they give you the area and ask you to find the radius or the angle, plug in what you have in the right spots. Forgot my divide by 2, sorry. Area equals radius squared times angle divided by 2. Or times 1/2. All right, so for this problem I would times by 2. To get rid of the fraction, 192 pi equals 12 squared would be 144 theta. And then I can divide by 144. For anyone who thought of a different way of doing this, not dividing by 2 first, or multiplying by 2 first, you may be right. So if you get the same answer, that is totally fine. Now remember, when we wrote radians, they were oftentimes in fractions. So instead of dividing and getting a decimal, I'm going to divide and get a fraction. So the fraction would be 4 pi over 3. So that's the measure of my angle in radians. If I want to know what that is in degrees, then I just have to convert. I don't need to redo the problem. Pi equals 180. Put the pi on the bottom this time, since I want to end up in degrees. Pi's cancel off. And I have to do 4 times 180 divided by 3. Whoops, typed that wrong. Sorry. 4 times 180 divided by 3. So 240. Okay, ask follow-up questions as needed.